Hello, welcome back to the J-List, and today we'll be talking about Tap In by Swapa. So this isn't Swapa's first actual album of any kind. I mean, as a matter of fact, he's dropped, I believe, 6 other projects beforehand. But given the attention he's received this year, I feel like this is really his breakout true freshman album. Given more label resources and actually having much more of a thought and process behind the album. We see a lot of transitions throughout. I think he really put a lot of thought into how the album was constructed as a whole. And it's a 17-track album, no features, which I think is really cool, especially for someone trying to debut and be in their own lane as Swapa has. So we will get into it, starting with track number 1, Tap In. So Tap In serves as a very fun introductory song to what the rest of the album will be. We have the classic gun shells hitting the ground kind of sound effect. It's very mid 2010 sounding, and it was very fun to hear Swap over this beat. This beat, along with most others on the track list, come in very heavy and just stay heavy all the way throughout. But this was definitely an impressive start that set the tone for the rest of the album. And following that, we have track number 2, Fully Chop, which just comes in with these skull shaking bass lines, and it is just incredible. It's a lot of noise, but there's not much going on with the song itself. Structurally, it feels like he kind of missed the mark and didn't really have much of a direction he wanted to go in with the song. Even leading up all the way to the outro, which sounds really good and has a cool little transition that he's trying to build, and then it just doesn't lead into the next track at all, which we do see throughout the album, where some of these tracks do transition into each other and then some of them don't, which is something I haven't really heard before. It definitely feels like a missed opportunity on some of the tracks, but a decent track nonetheless. Following that, we have track number 3, Variety in Your Eyes, which is another kind of example of it's like a half-baked Don Toliver song. A lot of the bass just in your face. It sounds super crazy, but when you actually listen to the song for what it is, it just doesn't give us much sonically or structurally as a whole. The vocals on the track are completely washed out by these once again brain rattling bass lines that just would make the track if he actually stepped his vocals up, but he just gets lost behind the rest of the track, which is kind of sad because a lot of these tracks would be really cool if he just turned up the vocals a little bit to match with that bass skull shaking energy, but he just doesn't. The cool thing about this track though is that it transitions into track number 4, Skull, very, very well, and Skull is an awesome track. This is one of the more dreamier beat selections on the album as a whole, and he flows over it so effortlessly, and this was the first track on the album that really pulled my attention in and made me want to listen in closer and kind of see where the rest of the album was headed. And funny enough, following that, we have track 5, Heavy Metal, which is the calmest song up until this point and probably one of the calmest songs on the album as a whole. It's cool. It's a pretty song. It's melodic, and that's a really cool thing that he starts doing later throughout the album. He starts mixing up his cadence vocally, which is very impressive to hear. I didn't know how many styles he had until really taking a deep dive through this album. So this is really not the midpoint of the album, but where we start kind of seeing him exploring these other layers of his sound. And then right after the calmest song on the album, we have Steve Kerr, which is just 2018 Young Nudie written all over it. It's got the Pierre Ooh ad-lib going on in the background throughout. He's going crazy all over the track. It was one of my favorites from the album, certainly, and he really just goes all in on this one. It was one of the more impressive ones, personally. It was spacey. A lot of these songs are spacey and calm, or spacey and just in your face. And this was one of those examples where we go from a calm, spacey song to an aggressive, spacey song, and it works pretty perfectly. They mesh well together. And right after that is track number 7, Nah. It's got a broken up little flow, but it's good. It's another really good example of him being able to balance his sound over a different type of beat selection and kind of showcase a different flow than what he typically uses. The outro is so out of place and just like doesn't work with it at all. I know I mentioned it earlier, but this is one of the really good examples of like, why was this on here and conceptualized if it wasn't actually going to contribute anything to the album as a whole. And this mess continues with track 8, Sir Scale. I mean, it's kind of more of a mess. There's just a ton going on with the beat. It's all over the place, and then he's got this chorus where he's like, I'm the scale, I'm the scale. I don't know. It didn't do much for me. I was getting a little worried at this point that we were gonna run into this mid-section of the album of just kind of slop filler. But, I mean, it is 17 tracks, all him, so naturally we're gonna get tired at some point. I was just hoping it wasn't going to be this early in the track list. Thankfully, he saved himself from this potential curse of it kind of being that midpoint slop with track number 9, Rigged. It was incredible. This one, he's really switching up his delivery, kind of really beginning to show that range of how far his vocals can stretch. A little bit different ideologies. You know, it's a lot of the stuff of the flexing and whatnot, but we do see him beginning to entertain some references to like the ladies and growing in his career and whatnot, all that kind of stuff, which is pretty cool. And this actually transitions very well into the next track, track number 10, Old Habits. This track was the first point in the album where we really see like a full-blown sing-song attempt, and it goes over really well. You know, he's showing off the vocals even more towards the later half of the album. I really think the latter part of this album is really where it begins to shine, like right around track 9. The back half is just incredible. Then for track number 11, Another Level, I didn't really get much out of this. I went back to it to see if I could pull anything that really stood out to me, and it was kind of one of those songs that I felt could have been left on the cutting room floor. It's not bad per se, but it's just there, filler, and it doesn't add much to the album at all. But then once again, he follows up a boring track with an incredible track with track number 12, Again, which was certainly one of my top 3 off the album, if not number 1. It's just a super dope beat. He goes very deep with the vocal inflections, and overall is just a super fun track. Definitely, you know, as I said, one of my favorite off the album. And it goes right into track 13, Troll, which was also another really fun track. I just didn't have much more to say about that one. And then for track number 14, we kind of have a mess here, a good mess. Wait, YK is him? YK is Sheem? I don't know. But track 14, it has the fart 808s. Classic. But it just goes so hard. It's a fun listen. It's all flexing based. He's just having fun on the track. It was weird. It was a weird listen, but I listened to it a few times and I was like, I get it. It's fun. Then for track number 15, we have Marnie, which was an incredible beat. He flowed really well over it, and I was super excited. And then it just ran a little too long, and he didn't do much with it after the initial minute and a half, 2 minutes. Which was a shame because I was really hoping for a lot more after such a strong start to the song. But whatever, it was decent, a fun listen nonetheless. And then for track 16, we have Why Not. This is another good one. Beats really hard, but the delivery is super laid back. That contrast works really well with Swapa, and I was hoping to see more of that on this album. Another really, really out of place transition that just doesn't work with going into the next song at all. Track number 17, Alien. I don't know why this kept happening on the album. I don't know if there was last second adjustments or what threw it off like that, but I don't understand what was going on with a lot of these transitions. But yeah, for track number 17, Alien, it was the most spaced out one on the album. It was fun. It was a calm little listen. Just not a ton going for it, and it wasn't the most memorable track for me. He had these really nice, like, angelic vocal inflections in the background, but didn't do a ton with it, and there isn't much substance to the song. I think it's another one of those where the beat kind of speaks for itself, but as a whole, wasn't bad at all. Yeah, that's the entirety of Tap In by Swapa, 17 tracks. I feel like quite a few could have been trimmed out, just to make it a little easier to listen to, and I wish the concept was a little more fully formed. I really didn't like those out of place transitions. There were enough where it was noticeable to be like, what are we doing here? What happened? There's got to be some kind of story there. Or he just likes throwing transitions at the end of his songs that have nothing to do with the rest of the album. I don't know. But it was fun. He has a few one-offs that I really enjoy of his. And there's definitely some tracks here on the album I'll be going back to. I just hope for a more fully conceptualized idea in the future from him. But like I said, this is his first real like major push in the industry, so I'm thinking he only gets better from here. But yeah, that was Swapa Tap In. Thank you for watching.